Hello everyone and welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV for your daily lunchtime stream. It is match day tomorrow and of course it's a huge game against Manchester United. There's a lot of Chelsea news and there's a lot popping up as of course the season draws to an end. So plenty to talk about. Make sure you like the stream, help share it round, and of course I just said that, didn't I? Subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV.
Well, let them know again.
Like this video, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV, and get involved in the comments as we take you through the latest. Joined today by Charlie, as you can see. And Charlie, how you doing, mate? We were on yesterday, today.
All good, all good. Nothing much to report back on.
Not a lot has changed since yesterday, yeah.
Apart from it's fucking cold now.
No, I think it's been okay. I think the sun's just not out today, so it's a bit...
No. I had to wear a coat today. It's cold.
But yeah, it's been pretty good, though. I think we're due, to have 23-4 degrees this week, so that's good. Hope everyone is doing well. Tom, hello to you. Thanks for joining. Big up yourself. But yeah, guys, let's get straight into it. It's been made clear we've got a brief. We get a lot of briefs at this time, don't we? Where we basically find out what's going on. Enzo Maresca's job is going to be safe at Chelsea, regardless whether we make the Champions League spot or not, regardless whether we win the Conference League or not. Maresca will be at Chelsea next season. Divided opinions on managers at Chelsea is not really something crazy. We see it every season. Managers are the hottest talking point. But overall, Charlie, let's kind of give our thoughts on Maresca overall as a manager and also at Chelsea this season. And everyone in the chat get involved. Let's talk about him. Obviously, we'll do an end of season review once he achieves or doesn't whatever he set out to accomplish. That'll be a different conversation, but so far up until this point, what is everyone's thoughts on Maresca? Charlie?
I think he's done all right, to be honest. I don't think he's done a particularly bad job. Yes, you would have liked the Champions League spots wrapped up before now, of course you would. But the reality, the fact is that we're still on course to achieve what the vast majority of fans said would be an acceptable season. Now, of course, whether we do that or not, we'll find out in the next couple of weeks, but we're still on track to do that. I think a lot of people have had unrealistic expectations. Obviously, when we were up in second in December, maybe people's thoughts kind of changed on the expectations for the season. But this is a manager who's had one season of managerial experience in the Championship with Leicester. And he's taken a huge step up to the Premier League and Chelsea. Difficult environment, working under potentially difficult people with a club that lacks stability and has got a playing squad with so many holes in it, no leaders, no experience, no senior pros. All things considered, I think he's done pretty well. And when you actually look at it, because I was having a look at this last night because I haven't got anything better to do on my on Wednesday nights. And this season, right? We've got the third best defence in the Premier League. We've created the third most chances in the league. We've created the second most. We created the second most big chances, and we've had injuries to Fofana for most of the season, Lavia for most of the season, James and Jackson, kind of four key players. And people are trying to tell me that we've not made any progress. We conceded a club record amount of goals last season in the league, 63. And we've now got the third best defence in the league without our first choice defence playing for most of the season and without and without arguably sort of any top class centre backs. People could say, we've got the same points. But yeah, okay, fine, we've got the same points, but we're playing miles better. It's like, if you want to, you can have your opinion, but you can't argue with facts. Third best defensive team. We are the third best, and everyone says we're shit in defence.
Let's be real, everyone's been pretty poor defensively. I think defensive frailties across all of the teams this season.
Sure, fine, but we're still the third best. If everyone's shit, that doesn't matter, does it? Because you've still been less shit than the other teams.
Wow, is this what it's come to?
But what I'm saying is, like, but regardless of how shit the other teams have been, we still have the third best defense, so that makes us less shit than them.
Woohoo, guys! There you go. That's why Maresca's staying, because
and where I do cut him a bit of slack is we have missed the most big chances in the league this season. That's not a managerial issue. 79 big chances we've missed. That's not a managerial issue. That's a personnel issue and a quality issue.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that. That's why you cut him slack.
Jackson's missed 19 big chances and Palmer's missed 13. Now, I'm not saying they're going to score all of those, but what's 19 and 13? Like just over 30, right? Let's say half of those go in. That's 15 more goals. And that is a difference between us still being in the Champions League, still in the race for the Champions League, and us being done and dusted. So I'm not saying that the manager is get out of jail free card, no blame on him whatsoever, because he's got things wrong and he's made mistakes and whatnot, as you would expect for an inexperienced manager coming into this job. But when you see those metrics about the amount of big chances we've missed and the fact we've created so many opportunities, it is a personnel issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's why you maybe argue that he definitely does deserve another go, and definitely with like additions over summer, because I definitely think a lot of our players have also let us down this season. You just mentioned the chances there. You score maybe half of those chances, you're definitely in the mix. Do you know what I mean? And you're definitely in a comfortable top 4 spot. Like obviously Maresca said in the press conference that we've been in the top 4 for the majority of the season. We've been in and around the Champions League spots, and in his eyes, and clearly in the club's eyes, that is actually an overachievement. So now that we're in this position where it's coming to the very end, in our eyes as a fan, that's, that it's kind of disappointing that it's coming to the very end to be decided whether we do get Champions League football or not. But in their eyes, that's fine, because this is what we were battling for, and it is an overachievement. So if we do win the Conference League, which we absolutely should and have to, even though that's going to be the toughest test, and we do make the Champions League, in our eyes as fans, cool, job done. That's what you needed to do before the season even began. In their eyes, that's an overachievement. So I think that's where we are almost kind of like missing each other, and like that we're not aligned in terms of our expectations and standards. But I agree that Maresca definitely deserves a little bit more experience in the squad, maybe some different players, and that will definitely hopefully make a difference. Whether he utilizes them and how he utilizes them in his system is going to be a whole different story. But I guess that's where you can actually judge him next season. But some of the football that we've played has been pretty dull. I think that's down to Maresca. Some of the players' best strengths have been limited massively because of his system and his tactical choices. So he's definitely not faultless, but it's definitely a combination of why we are where we are. So that is what warrants him to have.
I think some Chelsea fans are just obsessed and addicted to sacking managers. I don't think
so. I think you're wrong. It's not an addiction.
No, they are. They're obsessed with it. Like literally, they are. Not everyone, but there's a vast majority that love sacking managers. Love it. They absolutely love it. They can't wait to have a conversation about sacking the manager. They're literally addicted to it. They're obsessed with sacking managers. Now, that has worked in the past because we had basically the best squad in the league pretty much every time, or certainly every time in the top 3. So you get a manager in, and because you've got one of the best 2 or 3 squads in the league, you're more than likely going to achieve success, providing you've got a half competent manager. And we would always appoint kind of top managers. Yes, we got some wrong. Andre Villas-Boas, for example. Scolari came with a big reputation, but that didn't work out. But it is... You cannot just keep sacking managers every single season. So at some point, people just need to I have a problem with sacking managers because you're building no continuity. There's no stability at the football club, and you are constantly starting again every single year. When are you gonna at some point just back a manager and give him more than a season? When are you going to do that? When are you going to do that? This is exactly it. And look, that is true. You know, that what's happened over the past 20 years has caused people to think it's normal to just sack managers all the time. It isn't normal to do that.
But the difference is that there's quite a stark difference in the criteria of managers getting appointed under Roman and now. Like, there clearly is a new criteria for managers that are being recruited, that are being appointed. So I think that's where the big difference is.
And that's another thing, right? Every time I have this conversation, whether it's here, whether it's at the ground, whether it's on my channel, wherever it is, I ask people, give me a realistic option who's going to come in, and they can't do it. They'll say names like Inzaghi. They'll say names like Diego Simeone. Not happening. Not happening.
Yeah, exactly. That's why there's no.
When I say in the chat now, there's people that don't want the gaffer here. In chat, put realistic, alternatives who actually could possibly come this summer. Put them in the chat now, and I want to hear them, because I guarantee there'll be an absolute load of nonsense in there. That's not gonna happen. So, please put it there. I think you could tell right. I could tell you right now, with 90% certainty, who the shortlist would be. Well, 3 of the names on the shortlist. Probably Kieran McKenna would still be there. You'd probably have Liam Rossini at Strasbourg, and you'd have Thomas Frank at Brentford, who's obviously done very well this season. Other than that, maybe there'd be someone else up and coming, someone else obscure.
And that's another reason why there's no point of sacking.
No, but this is such a cop-out from Kay in the chat. That's not our job. Bro, if you're going to have an opinion, you have to bring something to the table. You can't just say, I don't want the manager, and then bring no alternatives to the table. That doesn't wash. You'll just get absolutely ruined in an argument because you're bringing no alternative to the table. It's just utter nonsense.
True.
Yes, Conte. Yeah, but Conte going into Napoli is totally different because that's a squad that was ready to compete at the top of the table. They got major signings that they needed. The situations are not comparable. The situations are not comparable.
Okay, I think there's definitely a couple different points you can make towards why it's, there's no point of sacking the manager and why there is. But I think you're equally in trouble with sacking a manager because, like you said, the category of the ones that will succeed him are in the same category with the same experience, with the same CV, if not less. So that's the issue, because you're not going to go and appoint some of the best managers out there or ones that have a lot of agency. Like, we're clearly seeing the pattern here. A lot of people like to say it's a yes man. Well, it kind of really is a yes man, isn't it? That's kind of what we're looking for. So in that regard, there is no point really of sacking Maresca, because whoever comes in, it's just going to be someone of equal status or below. So that's the thing. However, it can also be true that maybe Maresca my voice just broke. It can also be true that maybe Maresca isn't the guy for long term to build some success. But again, you don't know that until you give him at least another season to just see what he does with better players and other additions.
I can guarantee, right, the same people that want this manager gone, if a new manager comes in, they'll be the same ones moaning about Christmas time. Oh, we need to change the manager again.
Yeah.
What happened to just backing a manager? If he doesn't do well next season, fair enough. That's a second season, and that's fair enough then. Unless you're finishing bottom half of the table, then for me, he should be he's done more than enough. I've seen enough from him for him to warrant having a second season. But he needs to be backed, because if Chelsea believe in this manager like they say they do, they obviously offered him, he signed a 5-year contract to back, that they view this as a long-term appointment. You then have to give that guy the tools. You can't just say all this stuff and then not give him the tools to be backed, and expect him to make improvements. That's not That's not how this works. So if you believe in him, like you say you believe in him, sign the players we need, give him the quality that he needs, and then we can go from there. And if he gets given that and we don't really make progress next season, then we can get rid. No problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's have a look and see, because there's a lot of conflicting opinions in the chat, so I'll bring some of them on. Obviously, like I said, managers have always divided opinions, and there's a lot of people that say, well, there you go, look, if you don't do good in a job, you get sacked. It's called life. But then what criteria is that based on? Because if we do get our Champions League spot and, you know, we do win the Conference League, well, that's just succeeding in the expectation of the season beforehand. So that's good enough. Like, you can stay, have a season, elevate us, do good in the Champions League, be better in the Premier League, be more competitive. So that kind of warrants you to keep your job, right? But then, you know, there's the other side of it, that some people just don't really believe in him as a manager with his qualities that he's displayed and the CV he has, that he can really elevate Chelsea with, regardless what players come into come in the transfer window in summer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but look, but at the end of the day, people have just made up their minds on the manager already, and whatever he does,
this is exactly
it's going to make no difference what he does, because people have already and again, this is not true. Like that, Maresca didn't choose to keep Sanchez over Petrovic. Petrovic was basically forced out. So again, people are just making up nonsense shit to try and support their agendas. Now, if you want the manager out, fine, but at least give, you know, actual honest evidence-based opinions instead of just spouting nonsense at the end of the day. You know, I've got no problem if people bring a legitimate argument
but for not wanting the manager. Going to be appointing the next manager anyway.
Well, exactly. This is the point again, right? You know, get rid of the manager. What? So, okay, you guys in the chat that want the manager gone, do you trust the directors to appoint a fourth manager since they've been here and for them to get it right?
Of course not. Josh here says, the fact of the matter, being a manager at Chelsea is always a lose-lose. Winning is, and it's expected, losing your crap. They only hold you in high regard after you're gone. Just is what it is. What do you make of that?
I'll tell you what, if Maresca left at the end of the season, like with Poch, he'd leave with his reputation probably enhanced, and Chelsea would be back to square one, and it's not an attractive job. It isn't.
No. It's interesting, because again, I think regards to the football we've played, I think we've been given a lot of leeway for other teams dropping points this season, and we potentially aren't even in the fight for this fifth spot by like hook or crook. We potentially could not even be in this position in the first place. Like, things could have been a lot worse as well this season, but we've been quite lucky with how other teams have performed as well. At the end of the day, that's just reality. I think overall, if you look at the games that we've lost or the games that we've dropped points that have always been winnable on paper, like, those have always been concerning. It is obviously, people are going to forget. No one's really going to look at how we played this season when we are, when we do finish.
We've been absolutely battered in any game. I don't think we've been absolutely hammered in any games this season.
Fine, true, but then again, we've dropped points against teams that should have been winnable, and even in the course of the game, we should have won. So there's certain games where, again, we have underperformed, but we've still been cut some slack, or we've been kind of given leeway because of other teams around us also simultaneously dropping points and losing games. So, it is. Oh, there you go. You've just brought up the Brighton games were pretty bad.
Those were terrible, yeah. But what I mean is, there's been very few occasions where, we've been absolutely battered and outplayed and been completely.
I think those were, for me, I think personally, the Brighton games were probably our biggest lows this season, purely because of those two games, and losing in the manner that we did. In the cup as well were pretty atrocious. I'd say probably out of all, and obviously the Ipswich loss as well. Those were definitely some of our lowest, if not lowest points in the season. But you're going to go through them. But the problem is that we have ourselves to blame for putting ourselves in this position right now, where it's coming to these very last two games that our fate is decided in the Champions League. And again, who is to blame for that? Well, again, we're let down by recruitment, and those further up above are putting us in a position where we didn't strengthen mid-season, because other teams, yes, were underperforming, but they did something to fix that. Do you know what I mean? Come January, and now they're in a much, much better position. But yeah, that's clear, you know, so I'll back him. I think pretty much they made it clear that they would back Poch as well at some point, and obviously whatever happened there, Poch obviously saw things a little bit more differently. Maresca doesn't strike me as someone to have a different opinion, and to them that's fine. That's literally what they need in a manager, so he'll stay. Argument here, for stability's sake, Maresca can stay. My argument to get rid of him is that his lack of tactical preparation and one-dimensional style of play will not get us over the line, no matter who we get. Do you think then that with better players, Maresca's style of football will improve? Do you think he will change his style, or do you think that he'll
look how many chances we've created this season? As I said earlier, the second most amount of chances created in the league. If you have better personnel who can convert those chances, then it's a very different conversation. So, you know, we might play similarly to next season to this season, but if we've got better personnel, they're going to be sticking more of those chances away, and we're going to win more games, and we're going to be higher up the table. That's how it works. Like, Poch was just chaos ball, no structure, no control, no nothing, and it wasn't a style of football that you could build upon and is kind of sustainable and you can progress with. I do think with the right personnel in this system, this is a style of football that you can progress with and you can build upon. So yeah, look, I think if you put a top striker in there, if you get, you know, another winger, if you get another decent centre back, then yeah, I think that we will be better next season. But the squad lacks balance big time, and the squad's got so many holes in it, which is inexcusable for the amount of money that we've spent to still need so many players.
Yep. A lot of people mentioned this earlier as well, but the whole inverting thing, and how he has inverted fullbacks this season, it's worked in some games, it hasn't in others. I think it comes down to the player that is inverted on the day anyway, but has that been a flaw, or has that been a strength? Is that something that you would praise Maresca for, or is that something that he's kind of set us up to fail in certain games?
I mean, look, he's done it in most games. There have been some games where there's not been any inverting at all. It absolutely works for Cucurella, for sure. That definitely suits him. But we have to be honest that it doesn't suit Reece James and it doesn't suit Malo Gusto. That's the reality of the situation there. And you do lose their biggest strengths, which is getting forward and being dangerous in the attacking thirds. You know, Gusto got, I think, seven or eight assists last season. We know what James is like going forward with his attacking quality, and this season when those guys have played, they've hardly been able to affect the game in the final third whatsoever. So you do lose a lot there, and really that inverted role only kind of suits Cucurella. Obviously, when Caicedo plays there, I think Caicedo's started there 3 or 4 times this season. It's not been a regular occurrence at all, and yet people were losing their minds that he played there against Newcastle. It was like, he's played there. That's the 4th time he's played there. You know, like people making out like Maresca plays in there every week. He doesn't. So yeah, look, I do think that it does limit us to a degree because you lose the best strengths of James and Gusto. But then I suppose it benefits us in other ways as well, because Cucurella has been absolutely outstanding this season. So it's about finding that balance. But that can be quite difficult to do.
Yeah, I think obviously people have mentioned it hasn't worked with Gusto though. Do you think that's partly why? Because Gusto's regressed. It's not a secret to anyone. He's not performing as well as he was last season, and he almost just seems like a shadow of himself. But again, you maybe cut him some more slack because of how great he was when Reece was injured. But is that not down to Maresca then? Like, is Maresca at fault for Gusto's regression? Because there is that argument there. Like, the players played and been rotated so heavily in different positions, been dropped in and out of starting 11s. Like, I don't really see what the vision for Malo Gusto. There's not been a clear vision for Malo Gusto under Enzo Maresca, and I think that has really had a big part to play with why he has regressed.
Look, he's regressed because the system doesn't suit him. Okay, and look, that happens in football sometimes. But I think also we can't just blame it entirely on the system, because when he has played, he hasn't performed to the level that we saw last season. Now, still, he's only like 21 years of age.
Yeah, no, he's so young.
Look, you're going to have inconsistencies as a young player, and it's going to be difficulties. And look, a lot of those difficulties are 100% down to the system. But as a player, wherever you're playing on the pitch, whether it's slightly out of position, whether the system doesn't suit you, he still hasn't delivered enough, regardless of the limitations that the system places on him. So he's got to find a bit more for himself as well. And maybe next season, Maresca might change things up, or Gusto will just be more used to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. He is so young that you kind of forget because of how good he was last season. But I guess he had a little bit more freedom. He was one of those players that had a little bit more freedom when he was playing under Poch, because again of how good he was, he contributed a lot to our attack. That's the thing. He was good defensively and he was good offensively. But yeah, I'm sure that it could be an age thing. It definitely could be a variety of things. He just hasn't looked that comfortable on the ball to me. And that's just a quality that was a pretty good one that he had last season. But yeah, in terms of overall improvement though, which player would you say, and people in the chat get involved, which player would you say is a testament to Enzo Maresca for improving this season, if you had to pick one?
Look, Caicedo's been absolutely outstanding this season. He's improved massively. I think Cucurella has improved massively as well. And I think there's a massive case. Enzo Fernandez has come on so much. Easily his best season at Chelsea. He's scoring goals. He's influencing the game. He's getting assists. His all-round play has been better. I remember people last season were questioning whether he had the athleticism to get around the pitch in the Premier League. For me, I think he's probably maybe had the biggest improvements, but maybe him, Caicedo, or Cucurella.
Yeah, I mean,
I know Caicedo was decent in the second half of last season, but he wasn't at this level. He wasn't at this level.
Yeah, I think Cucurella probably maybe not so much, because I think Cucurella is just a great player all round anyway, and he performs, for his national team as well. He performed last season. Pochettino obviously unlocked that whole inverted thing with him at the end. He's progressively gotten better at Chelsea with this with the environment improving as well, and he's one of our more senior players. Obviously, we've seen a lot of shouts for Enzo Fernandez in the chat, which I think is probably the strongest. I think Maresca has almost given Enzo Fernandez this newfound confidence, and I think that's also been elevated with giving him the captain armbands, because it's a huge thing. Let's be real. I personally was one of the apprehensive fans who thought that might play actually a bad part on him, because he's still so young and he's still, very much adapting to the Premier League this season. But actually, it's worked in his favor, because he's got a lot more confidence. He's helped the team out so much. Not only has he scored goals, but he's creating. And again, you talk about personnel and better finishing. Like, Enzo Fernandez's assists could have been so much higher had we had players on the end of some of the chances.
So many players, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think he's got a great vision. Some of the through balls he makes, you almost think, right idea, maybe just poor execution at times, or just someone not at the end of those balls. So he's such a talented player, and I think you can actually, people are right, credit Maresca for utilizing him the way he has, and he's been quite versatile as well. We've seen him in a couple different roles. He is obviously someone that I just forgot my trail of thought, but yeah, he's someone that you can now rely on, definitely. We went through a period of the season which is mad. People said, we'd play better without Enzo Fernandez, and he's just proven that to be so wrong. But yeah, a really, really great improvement.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and he's obviously one of our most important players. So yeah, and there's no denying that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But there's 92 of you guys in here today. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you smash the like button if you've just made your way in, guys. How many likes are we on now? We are on 26 likes, guys.
No,
Can we
that's
get
so
30?
shit.
That is very, very poor. Come on, guys. If you want Chelsea to get the Champions League spot, hit that like button. And if you don't, hit the like button as well if there's any rivals lurking in here. But yeah, obviously massive game tomorrow, Friday night. What a better thing to do than watch Chelsea versus Man United. It's our last home game of the season.
It's weird that on an evening as well, having that. There's normally, like, you sort of think last home game of the season is normally like 3 o'clock or whatever. 8:15 on a Friday is so shit.
I don't think so. Why do you think it's crap?
Why is it crap?
Why?
Because it just is, like, games on a Friday night are shit anyway. Like, you don't want to play on a Friday night. Like, it should be like a Saturday 5:30 or a 4:30 on a Sunday.
No, I disagree.
No, I'm not having it.
Father's going to be well up for a Friday night.
No, he's not up for a Friday night at all. Friday night kickoff is shit.
Father, yes, you are, aren't you?
You've got a Sunday 12 p.m. and a Friday 8:15. Both absolutely horrendous.
Well, your opinion, okay? I have nothing against a Friday night kickoff. Gonna be well up for it. Anyways, though, massive game. A lot of talk how United are actually going to set up for this one. Obviously, one that I already in the final. That's their season defining game, isn't it? Basically, so nothing much to play for in the league, but they always fancy a game against Chelsea. That's the thing, it's obviously again one of those winnable games. But I think that they always come out with a bit of surprise, no matter how good of a time it is to play Manchester United. They always, fancy scoring against us. Obviously held us to a draw at Old Trafford when, again, that was a good time to beat them. Came to Stamford Bridge last year. That was a 2-0. We were 2-0 up. And again, it was at the death. So pretty good. But how do you see United setting up for this one? Do you think they're going to go full strength, or no? We'll see a rotated team.
They won't be going full strength, no chance. I think at best you might have 2 or 3 players who will start this game, that will start the final. I think Amorim's already confirmed that there's no Lenny Yoro, no De Ligt. They're both going to be missing this game. I don't think Diego Dallo's available either. So yeah, look, they've been shocking. They're awful. Everyone's beating them. But at the same time, there's still a chance that they could potentially pick a result up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just got to focus on ourselves, do what we can. We've got issues in attack. There's no strikers. We've got no strikers. And obviously Jadon Sancho can't play either. So we've only got 2 wingers available in, Neto, Madueke, I suppose George as well. So all 3 of those are going to have to play. And I suppose Cole Palmer will play as well. I think the only change we'll see from the Newcastle game is Caicedo into midfield and then Reece James coming at right back.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that it'll be interesting to see how Maresca sets us up in the attacking department. I think we should be absolutely going for this one. Obviously, an informed Cole Palmer would massively help. He's been great against United, so track record is good. But yeah, no, I think this is all in our hands. It's at home. There's so much at stake for us. It's definitely in our favour. And if we're talking about inform, we're definitely more informed than them. And yeah, no, I think it's just going to be about how much you want to finish your chances. How clinical can we be in front of goals? Because, we will get opportunities, and I think we just need to score first and just dictate play. But I'd love to score a few goals. Someone mentioned when we were doing score predictions, where are 3 goals coming from or who's scoring them? But again, there are definitely players there that we can't really say that all of our attacking players have necessarily been getting the goals. We've had quite a few defenders. Kakure's been getting goals. Enzo's been scoring goals. So yeah, we have to absolutely be well up for this one. But yeah, no, you mentioned there Reece James coming in. Obviously right back, he's been in and out of starting 11s. Is he being protected? Is that the case? Is he being eased in after injury? What's the case of Reece, do you reckon?
I think, yeah, he's definitely managing him very, very carefully, trying to build his fitness up. This is the longest that he's been fit for, probably going on 2 years now. It could easily
Yeah.
be the longest period of time he's been fit for. We are clearly managing his minutes, managing his workload. I think part of the reason why he's been playing in midfield is less load on his body, less stress on the body compared to bombing up and down, or whether he's been playing at right centre back or whatever. And yeah, we think we've just been managing him. But I think there's also a case to be made that kind of in this system, he perhaps isn't in Chelsea's best 11 right now, which is kind of a strange thought, really. But I would expect him to start the last two games, providing he doesn't have any injury issues. With there being no Jackson, I think Reece will start the last two.
Do you want to expand on that? Why do you think that he doesn't suit the system at the moment?
Well, because inverting it just doesn't suit it. It's kind of that simple, really. As we discussed earlier, it takes away from his biggest strength, which has been getting up and down the pitch, being dangerous and influential in the final third. I can barely think of a game this season where Reece James has had an impact in the final third, or even got into the final third and put dangerous balls into the box, or created goals or whatever. He's barely made an impact in the final third at all, which is kind of just mad, really, when you think about the quality he's got on the ball there.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. In terms of Tyreek George, though, do you see him starting this game, or is he going to be on the bench?
I can't see who else would be starting instead.
No, I think Mark Hugh would probably be on the bench for us tomorrow. No,
right, at absolute best, he'd be on the bench.
Yeah.
Isn't he? Guy's not even been in full team training. He's just been training on his own, like this week, I think. So I'd be shocked if he even made the squad, to be honest. But at best, he'd be bench. But yeah, look, Tyreek George is going to have to start. There's not really any other options. Your attacking options are George, Madueke, Neto, and Palmer. Because Nkunku's not in the mix. There's no Sancho because of his loan deal. So so those are basically the attacking options that we've got.
Yeah.
So
another
interesting. So they are going to have to play.
Yeah, another interesting point is whether Neto is going to play through the middle, or will we see a false nine Palmer situation, which isn't really favoured, to be honest.
I think it's fluid. We'll probably start with Neto down the middle, but you can rotate and put George down there for a bit. You could rotate and put Palmer down there. I don't think it needs to be set in stone that Neto is going to be the 9 and play down the middle for the whole 90. You can that's very fluid and very flexible in terms of we can try different personnel there. And I think when you're playing like without a traditional centre forward, you want to be rotating that round and you want to keep the defence guessing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think we should win this one. I think we got it in the bag. I think if anything, we can trust that. Again, we showed that fight in the second half against Newcastle. Maresca called it out in the press conference as well, and said, we didn't just fold, we actually did fight, even though we were a man down at St. James's Park. So you can take a bit of courage from that one, and obviously the display against Liverpool. A lot of people say that wasn't a strong Liverpool side, but still there was a lot of fight and a lot of mentality displayed. And I think that's something we've been missing, isn't it, this season? We've been in and out of confidence, and inconsistency hasn't really helped that either. But we absolutely do have edge in this game from whatever way you want to look at it, really. But yeah, I do favour George playing in this one. I think, again, he's got a good finish on him. He's been, like we discussed yesterday, he's been eased in nicely. It's not like he's going to start out of nowhere. He has had a few cameos. He's been playing in and out of the Premier League and the Conference League. So, I think we'll absolutely see Tyreek George. It's just a matter of, can he rise to the occasion? I don't know. We don't really have much choice, do we?
No, we don't. We're just gonna have to it's basically just got to hope for the best. That's sort of all we can do in that regard. We know the personnel that we can field in attack, and we're just gonna have to hope that they're on it and someone can stick the ball in the net.
Yeah, No, absolutely. But yeah, everyone in the chat, let us know. Are you confident against Man United? We obviously talk slightly about the next one after, because obviously, you know, Nottingham Forest is our season finale. Is there a situation where, you know, it would be fine to draw against Man United and then go with all that pressure to Forest away on the last game of the season?
Well, we'd have to hope that Villa lose or Villa
Yeah.
drop points against Spurs tomorrow night, and that
Mhm.
Villa don't win their last game. So really, if you drop points against United and Villa beat Spurs,
Yeah.
then I think it's virtually done. You know, we need to look. Of course, there's a time where you could get in with maybe 4 points instead of 6, but that's relying on other teams to drop the ball and drop points, and
Yeah.
you don't want to be in that situation. So for me, let's just get the 6 points and then there's no doubts about it whatsoever. You don't want to be going into the final day having to rely on other people.
Yeah. No, but that's been our story of the season, though, relying on other teams to drop points to keep us in the mix. It's pretty much what we've been doing for the last few months now.
Yeah, but what I mean is though, like you're not like there's nothing worse than relying on other results for you.
Yeah.
It's in our hands, so just don't
Yeah.
fuck it up, basically.
Yeah. Literally. It's like, you know, when you're playing a game and you get endless levels, that's literally what it's felt like. You get infinite lives, you just keep
We've
going.
had so many lives, like it's
We've
mental.
had
So
so
I
many
mean,
lives.
let's just make use of them for once.
Yeah. But yeah, okay then, Charlie. Shall we talk about a few transfer stories then to round this one
Yeah,
out? Do you want to take us through?
update me.
Huh?
Update me.
Well, you update us. You're the transfer guru here,
Am
so
I?
yeah, you are.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to start with?
Oh, I don't know, mate. Let's talk about Hoysen.
No,
Let's
well,
talk
he's gone,
about.
so I wanted to talk about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that a loss to us, or were we fine with
I
that?
wouldn't say so because I don't think that he's I don't think that he's what we need. Not because he's not because he's not got quality, but because we need someone with leadership and experience at the back, and he doesn't tick those boxes. That's what
Yeah,
we need more than anything. So I would have been fine with him coming in if that was alongside someone else with experience and leadership. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't if you miss out to Real Madrid, it happens. You know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose out to Real Madrid with a player. And there's no
mm,
surprise that a Spanish centre back
now
wants to go to
again.
play for Real Madrid. So
Yeah, exactly. Fields here mentions Joao Pedro. Of course, it's come up that he's potentially being looked at some of the Premier League clubs. What do you reckon? What do you make of Joao Pedro?
I mean, look, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see Pedro as a player that is going to come to Chelsea this summer. Brighton, I think, would demand significant money for him. I just don't see it personally. I like him. He scores goals. He's something a little bit different, but for me, he's way more of a Liverpool or Arsenal type player than he is a Chelsea player. So yeah, I personally don't see that one happening, but I can see why Chelsea would potentially be interested in him.
How many goals has he got this season? He hasn't really started that. Well, he has started, but he hasn't started that many games, has he?
Let's have a look what he's done this. I think he's been injured for
Yeah, he's not
some
really
of this
played that
season as
much.
well. Let's have a quick look how many games he's played and what goals he's scored.
Yes, he does. He
He's
does.
got 10 goals this season. He's scored 10 Premier. He's got
Okay, it's more
10
than
goals.
Jackson.
He's got 10 goals, 6 assists in 27 games.
Okay, that's actually not bad. He's been out and injured as well. He scored against us, didn't he? Or was that last season?
I don't know if he scored against us or not. I sort of removed that Brighton game from the memory. I'm not sure.
That's so true. I've actually deleted both Brighton games out of my head. But yeah, another one. I mean, I don't really know how much news there is around this one. I haven't heard anything. But Eze, interest?
I've not seen too much, but apparently there is some kind of interest in him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you know, Chelsea look at so many. Look, clubs will look at so many players, and you know, will have a lot of players on their shortlist. It doesn't mean that you know there's going to be that they're seriously interested in all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, Eze definitely a name that's been mentioned, but I don't really know how serious that interest is. But I think he would be a brilliant signing, an Eze or a Morgan Rogers, that kind of left wing 10 hybrid. It sort of feels like maybe we're, with the links that we've had, with Eze links, with Morgan Rogers links, it feels like we're maybe not looking for so much of an out and out winger, but more of a winger / number 10 sort of hybrid situation.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, I haven't really heard anything really on him. Another one, Jonathan David, is a prospect.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's obviously announced he's leaving Lille on a free. He's got an offer from Napoli on the table. I don't know what other clubs are interested in will come in for him, but I'm surprised there's not been more interest from more teams, because he scored a lot of goals for Lille. You know, he's a reliable goal scorer. He's got Champions League experience, and he'd make a very good signing for a top team. But I mean, if I was Chelsea on a free transfer, I'd kind of be all over it. And then you could get someone else in as well. You can get 2 strikers in, which I think is what we need. So, yeah, I'm surprised that there's not more interest in him from bigger clubs. Maybe bigger clubs will put some offers on the table now, and there might be a bit of a race. But right now, it seems that Napoli have got a bit of a free run at him.
Yeah. Obviously, Rodrigo's made it quite clear that he wants out. I don't think we've been really linked with him, have we? I don't know.
Let me just put this on the screen. Can I share that? Is that shared? Yep, I've shared. Have I shared that? No, can you add it?
Not. Wait, hang on. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, this is Ben Jacobs on London is Blue podcast. We know there's Rodrigo. There's potential that he could leave Real Madrid. I don't think he's actively looking to force his way out, but you know, if a decent offer came in, then I think Madrid would look to sell him. But Chelsea are aware of this market opportunity, as are Liverpool and Arsenal. Now, this is the sort of signing, if you're a serious club, you just go and make it, or you at least go and give you go and have the conversation, and you give the guy a decision to make. I think you're going to have Champions League football to do it. But these are the sort of signings that we need to be making, players that come in and improve the first team. Because now, the players that we've been linked with, none of them are really significantly improving the first 11.
Yeah, and that's the issue, isn't it? Because we want to be looking at those that come and make instant impact.
If you're looking at a Gittins or a Garnacho, which are names that we've been linked with, Gittins and Garnacho, in my opinion, look, Gittins could potentially in a few years be better than what we have. But right now, I don't look at a Gittins or Garnacho and say they're better than anything we've already got, because they aren't. And that's my issue with those kind of signings. Rodrigo would absolutely go into that starting 11, and he'd probably go in and be our best winger. And those are the kind of signings that you need to be looking to make. So if there is an opportunity to do it, then you absolutely have to do whatever you can to do it. Look, if you miss out, you miss out. But you've got to show your intentions, and you've got to at least give him a decision to make, and don't just let another one slip away. Like Kvaratskhelia, when he obviously went to PSG, it would have been great for Chelsea. We didn't even bother trying. You know, you have to at least try and give these players a decision to make. If they don't choose you, they don't choose you. But it's inexcusable to just let players slide away one after another that can improve the team, because there's not a lot of top players out there who are available that could do that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. No, Rodrigo would be an interesting one, I think, you know, and someone just said here the Brazilian trio of Rodrigo, Santos and Estevao would be insane.
I mean, it would be decent. You have Rodrigo on the left, Palmer in the 10 and Estevao on the right. It's all right, that, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty pacey, isn't it?
Not bad, that, yeah.
No, not bad at all. I mean, that's pretty much the dream and the vision here, isn't it? South America's finest talent, bring them all into Chelsea. So that would basically be what we've been working towards in the last few years, isn't it? Like, pretty much. But then obviously Benjamin Sesko is another one that we've been heavily talking about in terms of options. One with maybe a little bit less experience and a proven track records than some of the other ones. But I think the other ones that I want are a bit more fairy tale like in terms of. Who do you want? Well, I've always said I want Yorker, he's my number one. But I don't really see us getting him over the line. But does a Sesko come in and improve Chelsea? Like, when you talk, like the point you just made, we want players who come in and make us better and aren't really a like for like with what we already have in terms of potential and what if. Do you see him being that player? Is he instantly an upgrade, and does he elevate? Does he take us to that next level? Is the question.
I think he makes us better. but I wouldn't say that he's someone that's going to come in and be an instant upgrade and an instant success. Again, this is someone that's 21 years old. Yes, he's got a reasonable amount of first team experience, Champions League experience. You know, he's quite a unique profile with his height. You know, he's got great ball striking ability. He definitely makes us better, but there's a huge element of a gamble there as well, as there is with all these strikers, by the way. You know, realistically, there's only really one, maybe two strikers that you can sign that you can guarantee are going to score you an absolute hatful of goals, and that's probably a Harry Kane and an Erling Haaland. Even with an Osimhen and a Gyökeres, as much as they're the top strikers around at the moment who would be available, there's no guarantees they come in and hit the ground running. Pretty much everyone is a risk. Now, obviously, an Osimhen or a Gyökeres is probably less of a risk, but there's still a big risk factor attached to those players if you were to sign them. So yeah, it's going to be. It is going to be interesting. But look, look, if Sesko comes in, I'll back it and I'll support him. I think there's a very good player there. I think there's a lot of potential for him to become a top striker. But again, you know, I'm not sure he significantly improves Chelsea right away.
Yeah, no, I hear this one. They're more Leipzig strikers. I think we've got a bit of
PTSD from Leipzig. I get Nkunku and Werner, and they've both been shit. So. Yeah, maybe
business.
Maybe it's third time lucky.
Is it? I mean, no. If you want to look at buying forwards from the German league as a whole, you'd probably say it's been pretty
just
bad.
Our recruitment from the German league has just been terrible in general.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really just Leipzig, is it?
No.
So yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? We'll see just how much, and I think, you know, it kind of goes back to our conversation at the start with the whole Maresca talk, and, you know, whether he does deserve time at Chelsea or not. These are the players that he definitely, I think, does deserve a chance of acquiring in the squad and seeing what he can do with them. A lot of people don't really have much faith that he can utilize even these better players that we're going to bring in, but we won't know until we see it. Do you know what I mean? And I think he at least deserves that. At least he deserves those players. And obviously he was given what we pretty much had last season, and he was asked to do a better job than what Pochettino did with some of the players. So yeah, I think he definitely deserves some of those players. But then again, we're now looking at recruitment. Do we actually trust that they will make the right decisions this summer when we've been so unconvincing in our latest transfer windows, and it seems that we almost kind of relay those gaping holes we have in the squads to the next window, and then they just get left unaddressed again. So that's the big thing, isn't it? How much do we trust those decisions to be made? How much do we trust that these players will come in? Because we seriously do need them. If you're asking us to get behind the gaffer, if you're asking us to get behind the vision, the project, then go out and actually be serious with acquiring those players, because trust me, we will need them if we're in the Champions League. Like, what we have currently isn't good enough to go and compete with the best out there in Europe, and we all know that. We're not living in a bubble. So again, go out and get those players, and then and a lot of rival fans will actually laugh at us at this stage and say, you guys are mad for thinking you need to go out and spend more money after all the money spent. But that's just the reality. We do.
Yeah, no, it's as simple as that. We do have to. But it's not just about spending money. It's about bringing the right players in now. And if we don't do that this summer, then it's gonna be pretty difficult. But look, if the window ends up being like Gerhi, Sesko, and Gittins, I think we're going to end up being in a very, very similar situation to this season, where we're going to be in a battle to finish in the top 4, top 5, if that was the summer window.
Yeah, no. And again, that just leaves us in a pickle again, because how much have we actually improved? We just haven't.
We can't afford to have another shit window, because January was awful and last summer was terrible as well. Those two windows have arguably set us back quite a significant amount. And at the end of the day, those two windows could end up costing us Champions League football.
Yeah, basically. So I guess we'll have to wait it out and see, but we're going to have a very intense summer, aren't we? Kind of going into obviously the transfer window straight off the back of this, and then going straight into the Club World Cup, and then going straight into next season. So
Club World Cup literally starts in 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's mad. I genuinely literally realised this yesterday, because we're basically halfway through May now.
Yeah,
it's basically
Club World Cup starts June 14th, and it's the 15th of May today.
A month away. That's insane.
It's mad. It is absolutely mad how quick that's come round and how little time there's going to be to recover. And, you know, the Club World Cup's basically going to be pre-season. There's not. I don't think there's going to be any pre-season tour for Chelsea this year. You might do like maybe a little local something in the UK, or you might play a couple of games somewhere in Europe or something. But the Club World Cup is going to be a major disruption to next season. And that's why with the Club World Cup, with there not really a proper pre-season, you want to get, I mean, it's not going to be possible to get all your signings done for it, but you want to get the bulk of your transfer business done before the tournament starts, because that's going to give them a time to settle in and adapt and adjust as quickly as possible. Because there isn't really going to be a proper pre-season.
Yeah, no, true. And since we're talking about transfer incomings, it's only fair we talk about departures as well. Nkunku's just been raised here in the chat. Nkunku has been, I think we can all agree, a big disappointment. And yeah, that story is pretty much over. But what do we do with him? What do we do with him? Yeah, but which club is going to pay any similar money to what we paid?
They'll be interested in Nkunku. I think you have to accept that you're not going to get the money you want.
We're going to have to cut our losses, right?
Yeah. Like if you got £50 million for him, that would be an exceptional deal. But I think right now, given his form and given how poor he's been at Chelsea, I think if you got a deal of, say, 40 million quid, you take it. I don't really see how you can demand much more than that, given how poor he's been.
How much did we pay for him?
52 million for him.
52 million.
So I think given how poor he's been and how little football he's played, if you got 40 at an absolute push, if you got
for me, that's too much. I don't see 40 million. Someone paying 40 million for
maybe not, but yeah, that's for me is kind of what you're looking at. Maybe a 35-40 million.
I genuinely think that if you got 30, that'd be incredible. Personally,
I think you'd get more than that, but yeah, it's pretty grim, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit sad, isn't it? I think because there was such a big lead up and such a big kind of hype towards his arrival. You know, it took so long, and he was injured, and it was this and that, and it was just almost like a kick in the teeth when, you know, it unfolded the way it did. But hey, it's going to happen in football. That we just know sometimes, you know, you believe in the player, it turns out to be quite the opposite, and then you're apprehensive about another, and actually you don't want him to go. So yeah, football works in funny ways, but I think, you know, Nkunku could still do well elsewhere. I think he's probably not suited to it's not crazy to say he's probably not suited to this league. I think elsewhere he goes and he maybe fits in and he plays well. He's not really that old. I mean, he's obviously not the youngest, but he's definitely still got
27.
Yeah, and again, I think he's technically gifted. I think he's got technical me searching around for good words for him. I think he's technically gifted.
He's good technically, yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon he's good technically.
He's good technically, guys. Yeah, just to clarify that, chat. Nkunku's good technically.
Shut up. I think he's good technically, but I think, and he's got a good finish on him. We've seen that. He definitely has got a good finish on him, but I think he's just been a bit too slow. And I think he has been a bit faulty in his decision making. And you can argue maybe it's both the club's fault for making him lose his motivation to do well at Chelsea anyway. You can pretty much see that he's wanted out months and months and months and months ago. But like, I'm sure as a player personally, Nkunku definitely would have felt that he could offer so much more than just being a Conference League team player at the start of the season. So I think what he was painted out by the club is not correlated to what his actual involvement at Chelsea has really been. So yeah, it's both, but obviously we're going to depart. I personally don't have any bad feelings towards Nkunku. Like, I won't look back at that transfer and think, like, I'll think it's disappointing and it was so
it's a
underwhelming.
massive disappointment.
But I won't say I absolutely hated Nkunku.
Oh no.
Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely don't hate him at all. It just hasn't worked out, and that's partly down to him, and that's partly down to circumstances of being injured, how good Cole Palmer has been, and he just doesn't suit the system. So just when you put the whole package together, you know, it just hasn't worked out, and it has basically been a disaster.
Some players are just not suited to the Premier, like just not cut out for the Premier League as well, and I think that's just also a fair point to say. Like, yeah, just is what it is. But anyways, guys, we're going to round this one out today. Thanks so much to everyone who's joined. There's just over 100 of you in here. So if you could just leave a like, if you haven't done so already, that'd be absolutely fabulous. You'll get your evening stream later tonight as per usual. And then, of course, all the content leading up to Chelsea versus Man United tomorrow night, which is absolutely massive. And I'm sure you guys are all going to be super duper excited for that one. Make sure you take care of yourselves, guys. Subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so already, and check out myself and Charlie's channels, which are in the description down below if you want to see more content from ourselves. Thank you again to everyone who joined. We really, really appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you very, very soon.